Hi, welcome back. Welcome if it's your first time here with me. Today I wanted to talk about how our thoughts impact and affect our reality. So if you don't know me, my name is Jill. My company is called Saraswati Lifestyle, Goddess Awakened, and I'm here to help people on their personal healing journeys by introducing them to working with the divine feminine and to activating that goddess that lives inside of us that wants to help us live better lives. So our topic for today, as I mentioned, how your thoughts impact your reality. First of all, it should be understood that what we think and what we allow into our energy field and our brains, which really function based off of electricity, so that's energy too. Energy is everything. Side note about me, I have a degree in neuroscience, so when I talk about mental health and when I talk about things like hormones, stress hormones, neurotransmitters, all that good psychology, brain stuff, I just want you to know that I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just kind of like getting it out of nowhere. I was a part of the healthcare field for a long time in the first part of my career. And part of why I do what I do is because I really feel like the world of research and science and medicine is a bit unbalanced. Because although scientific research demands a certain amount of emotional impartiality and lots of attention to details and numbers, when I was working inside that world, I sort of found that there's still a lot of room for interpretation in spite of what researchers can prove in papers. I started a master's in cell biology that I didn't finish because it wasn't for me. And one of the reasons why was because I realized that statisticians are very talented at finding the right equations and the right things to have data look one way or another. So I sort of realized that it's not really as black and white as it appears to be. I digress. Getting a little off topic there. So all that to say is I have a academic background in neuroscience and psychology. So that is part of what informs my conversations with you, including everything that I just mentioned before about all of the spiritual work. That is all my healing journey that I have taken myself on. And now I'm combining the two with my knowledge of neuroscience, psychology, and nursing. I was a registered nurse for the last 10 years. That's how we bring it all together. Anyways, so our topic for today is about how our thoughts impact our reality. So when you make a choice to be stressed, to experience stress, what you're doing to your body is you are sending signals saying, I need you to be ready to fight or flight. And we make that choice when we engage with thoughts that create that reality, that sensation internally and externally of being under threat. Sometimes it's an actual physical threat to our well-being. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's emotional stress. But the thing is our bodies and our hormone systems don't know the difference. And that is why things like depression and anxiety are so detrimental to our health, because that constant stress puts us in a state of chronic inflammation, which puts us at risk for chronic disease. Apparently, I really want to talk about health today. It's your choice, like I was saying, whether you want to be in fight or flight mode or whether you are going to be in rest and digest mode, energetically, physically, emotionally, because all of those systems, mind, body, spirit, they all kind of are meshed together. Each one has its own job, its own part of living on this earth that it takes care of, but they all work together. So think about it, if you are at home and you are annoyed about something and you are stressing about it, when you leave the house, if you're still in that state of mind, then all of the interactions that you have with people, animals, purchases, that thing pumping gas, interacting with machines, excuse me, is going to be impacted by your level of stress. Like, let's take trying to do something physical for an example. You know, when I am more stressed, my muscles aren't as good at executing what I want them to do. So maybe I spill my coffee on my way out of the house. Maybe I keep dropping my keys. Maybe I'm fumbling with the handle on the car door. And all of those things, if I go into that with a state of stress and then I spill my coffee, I'm going to be even more annoyed. I'm going to be even more stressed because I'm going to be annoyed about spilling my coffee. I'm going to be frustrated about why I can't open the car door, you know, because when you make a choice to interpret what's happening to you as stressful, then it kind of like, it's a positive feedback loop. It's like it feeds forward into itself. Whereas like I could be leaving the house and I could say something like, you know, I really feel very tired today. And this argument that I had with my partner is replaying in my mind and I don't feel great. So you can take that reality and that experience and you can say to yourself, that really sucks and I'm angry about it and I don't feel good and I don't like that I don't feel good. And now I'm not happy because I'm not happy because something happened that made me not happy. You know, that's what I mean about how it like feeds into itself. Whereas another choice that we can make is to say, I don't feel great. I don't feel good about that argument I had with my partner. I didn't sleep well. I feel really fatigued today, but you know what? I'm so proud of myself for getting out of the house and doing what I need to do today in spite of that. And I'm going to be extra gentle with myself today. I'm going to take my time with things. And I know that I do things like spill coffee when I'm tired. So if that happens, we're just going to roll with the punches, right? You know that expression, no use crying over spilled milk. We should be applying that to ourselves as adults as well. Because I know, again, for me personally, when I'm tired, when I'm stressed out, my inner child really comes out and is looking for comfort. And the last thing that I want to do is be hard on myself and bring more of my childhood trauma to my adult daily experience, right? We want to be nurturing to our inner child because that child still lives with us, lives in our hearts. So when you go out and interact with the world, you're making a choice about whether you want to be stressed about it or not. Or you could also say, you could look at it as, do I want to be on guard and thinking like bad things are going to happen and I have to be ready to fight or flight? Or am I thinking that it's like, it's going to be a good day and unexpected surprises are going to happen? You know, sometimes people kind of say like, you can't control what's going to happen. What's going to happen is what's going to happen. And whether you try to set the intention or like magically say that something's going to happen doesn't mean that it is. And while that is true, I think that the lenses that you wear as you go through your day are so, so important, because saying I'm going to have a positive mindset today may or may not change the things that cross your path, but it will affect how you interpret and interact with the things that cross your path. And then those choices that you make have further downstream effects, right? It's like the ripple effect. I hope this is making sense. So this brings me to the topic. I made a TikTok video the other day and I sort of started with like the most complex thing. And then I realized that I should be filtering it down to everything that I just explained. So what I came here to talk to you about is about how our ego keeps us in a state of denial about how much choice we have and how much control we actually have over our environment. So what do I mean by that? So let's take our example of like, I had an argument with my partner. I didn't sleep well. I'm not in a good mood and I'm not expecting to have a good day. So when you put that expectation on yourself, like I said, you go out in public and the way that our ego mind works is that it wants to kind of like protect. You can think of our mental state as like somewhat fragile and vulnerable, because it is, which is why everything that I just explained is true, which is why it's so malleable, which is a beautiful thing. But you need to understand that we have this control over our everyday lives first before you can really believe that you are making choices to improve your life when you make said choices. So let's say that I'm not in a good mood and I'm expecting to have a bad day. So what my ego is going to do is it's going to give me reasons. It's going to find reasons in my environment to reinforce that belief, because that's the ego's job. Whether the belief is good for us or not, detrimental or not, growth oriented or not, the ego doesn't care. The ego's job is to keep our fragile mental state stable. So the ego is going to be like, yes, sweetie, you're right. The world is a scary place. Look, see, that person over there is yelling. They're dangerous. That dog is unattended, and that's dangerous because it could come over and bite me. See, I'm justified to be on guard when I leave the house because so many bad things can happen. And again, like, I'm not necessarily here to like go up to every single person and be like, that's wrong, you should want to be friends with the dog. Because obviously it's not, like it's everyone's place. It's nobody's right to tell anyone else how to live. I really strongly believe that. I'm here to offer you advice for those of you who are ready to make a change. So people live their whole lives thinking that way, that, like they saw a dog bite someone as a child, therefore all dogs are bad, and that it comes from a place of your ego trying to protect you based on your past experiences. But what that does is it can have us living kind of in a state of denial, because what our wonderful, super masculine, not so much on the healed side of the masculine world, also likes to tell us, another story that it tells us is that we don't have much control over our environment. And there was something else in there too. It'll come back. So, that we don't have much control, and that the things that happen to us are determined by external factors. And yes, that is sometimes true, but in psychology, it's also very well known that if you believe that you have an internal locus of control, that you have control over your life, then you are more resilient. You are more resistant to things like depression and anxiety. You are more likely to engage in creative problem solving when you're faced with challenges. Whereas if you think that you don't have much control over your life, if you really believe that, your ego wants to back that up. When challenges come your way, you're more likely to give up sooner, because you don't believe that you have much control over the situation anyways. So what's the point in fighting? And like, you could say like, oh, that's pragmatic, that's practical, right? Why waste energy thinking up ways to change things that we can't control? But to me, like, it's kind of a mental trap that, again, it's lopsided. We are in a very unhealthy masculine way of looking at the world, and I'm trying to help us bring that more into balance. So what I'm saying is that when something crappy is happening, even if you know there are things that are out of your control about it, if you believe in your ability to positively impact some aspect of it or some aspect of your life, you are going to be more resistant to experiences like depression and anxiety. So our ego kind of keeps us in a state of denial. So like the example with the dog, right? Like, it's not really accurate to assume that all dogs are dangerous because you saw one dog bite someone. But the ego, like I said, the ego doesn't care between right and wrong. The ego's job is to protect your mental state. So the key, what I want you to take away from today is that it's really important to be able to take a step back and take the role of observer in our everyday life. Because then when you detach your sense of identity, your sense of ego, from your thought patterns or the assumptions that you make about the world or your beliefs about how things work, then you're able to see that some of those beliefs you hang on to might be detrimental to your health and well-being. If I can take away my personal experience of being scared that time I saw a dog attack someone, then I won't feel personally attacked when someone says to me, maybe you should rethink that belief, Jill. I won't feel so confused or triggered when I see dogs behaving in a way that doesn't match my beliefs about them. Is this making sense? It makes sense to me. It makes sense in my head. So being able to be the observer with your triggers really helps you overcome limiting beliefs, because it helps you realize that you actually do have a lot more control and a lot more say over what happens than you think you do. So like if the fear of dogs puts you in a state of anxiety every single time you see dogs, you might want to do something about that. Just like for your own mental stability, right? I'm funny today. I'm funny every day. You can save yourself the experience of wanting to fight or flight every time you see a dog if you can step outside yourself and observe that thought might not make the most sense all the time. And that is how ego works to keep us in a state of denial, so that we don't realize that we are the source of our own depression, anxiety, unhappiness, because that is a very painful realization to come to. It was when I was doing my shadow work. I still do. It never ends. When I first started shadow work and my spiritual journey several years ago, it was those moments where my eyes were opened to where I was allowing my ego to sabotage my own life, and things that I don't even want for myself, my ego was bringing in. Like that's painful, and it's really hard to see. Especially when you're on the healing journey, you might not have a ton of compassion and love for yourself. So you don't want to realize things like that because you're already in so much discomfort and internal pain. And that's how our egos keep us trapped in denial. I hope that made sense. I had a great time talking about it. So again, my name is Jill, and my company is called Saraswati Lifestyle, and I help people on their healing journeys get more in touch with their inner feminine, their inner goddess. And I do that in a couple of different ways. I am a professional Oriental dancer, belly dancing, Egyptian style dance. So I teach dance classes. I also offer distance Reiki over Zoom. I offer tarot readings also online over Zoom. And if you really want to dive deep and commit to making a change, I have a 3-month coaching program called Rise Divine Feminine. And you can find out about all of those things in the link below. If this is your first time interacting with me and you've never seen any of my content or purchased any of my products, you can get 20% off your first purchase by clicking the link below. Have a great day. It was wonderful seeing you today.